Hi everyone, and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So I have a very special guest here today, Forrest Willett. Hello, Forrest.
Hello, Yvonne.
So Forrest and I go back, oh geez, it's been weeks now since we've known each other. And we're going to share a really important story, but first we're going to look at a little clip and then we'll be right back.
Sure.
Would you ever envision at that time that you could be doing everything you're doing in your life now and sitting here on a television show? And I'm sure things felt pretty hopeless back then.
Very hopeless. And I've never thought in a million years that my life would turn out the way it did.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's such a huge message for people, sometimes out of something catastrophic, because in that horrific car accident, you suffered a catastrophic brain injury and suffered mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yes.
In every aspect of your life, right?
Absolutely. My life was literally turned upside down in just a few seconds.
In just a few seconds. So
that's all it takes, and it's like the world rips the rug out from underneath you and you don't know when you're going to land. It's so, you feel so hopeless when you're going through something like that.
Yes, I so appreciate that you shared that you suffered mentally as well, you know, and we talk a lot about the stigma with mental health issues, and we all go through them. And honestly, if you didn't have anxiety and depression after everything, I would be more concerned.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that I went through that, and it may sound really odd, but it allowed me to share with people now that you can get through these obstacles. I struggled with depression, anxiety, social anxiety disorders.
Wow.
And now I speak to people all over the world, and here I am on TV. It's you know, where there was a point where I wouldn't leave the house.
Really?
Because my anxiety was so overwhelming.
Wow. And that's just such an incredible message to how far you can come, right?
Yes.
Now, so go back to the beginning. I know that in those early days, I mean, you had several surgeries. How long were you in the hospital, or just share a little bit about that journey in the beginning?
So when the accident happened, in the years following, I went through 14 different surgeries to rebuild my face, arms, hips, and leg. And I often say it made me better looking.
Yeah, it's a good face. I mean, it's...
Nowadays people say, wow, you're really looking good, and they never said that before.
Right. Thank goodness, yes. If you're going to rebuild your face, you might as well pick a good one.
Yes. So it also helped keeping your sense of humor, because there was oftentimes your look disfigured, as you can see in that video. And so you had to learn to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
That was a big thing.
Yes, I think that's crucial, critical.
And I also think that it was harder overcoming the depression and anxiety, the mental health issues, than it was the physical injuries. You know, I went from being in a wheelchair to learning to go to a walker, then to a cane, then walking on my own without assistance. Many years in rehabilitation. I spent 5.5 years with a wonderful speech therapist right here in Aurelia, McPherson Communication.
Oh, wow.
Just amazing people that worked with me, and I'm glad they pushed me.
Yes.
Because if they didn't, I don't know where I would be right now.
Right. Well, you had so many obstacles to overcome, and you were a young man with a wife and a child.
Yes.
And working, and you were a volunteer firefighter, were you?
At the time, yes.
Yeah, so you had a full busy life.
Yeah, it was, you know, you think you're on top of the world. And then, like you said, I was on the volunteer fire department at that time, and I was used to being the person that would go to these car accidents and extricate people from the car.
Of course.
And all of a sudden, I was the helper that needed help.
Right. Wow.
And the people on my fire department, I can't imagine what they went through seeing myself unrecognizable.
Oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought of that. Yeah, those were your partners, people you worked with.
Friends, and that's who I spent all my time with.
Yes, my goodness. That had to have been, that's big grief for them as well, and all the people around you. Definitely, there's huge grief in that, because they also feel helpless. They can't fix.
No.
They can't fix you. You have to fix you.
Yeah.
Right. So years of physio and dealing with anxiety, depression, and it must have taken its toll on you, your family, everyone.
It was a big toll on everyone around me. My wife, my son.
Yes.
You know, and with the mental health issues, I didn't address it. I was in denial for a few years. I said, not me.
No,
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. Just give me a few more weeks. I'm going to be okay.
Right.
And those weeks turned into months, then into years.
Yes.
And eventually I just got so low and down, I had to reach out and ask for some help, and I wish I did that years earlier. Yeah,
I think that is worth a pause right there, because there's just something about people thinking that, oh, I need to do this on my own. That makes me strong. I don't want to look weak, or I can do this on my own. And I think one of the most incredible, something that shows so much strength of character is saying, I'm having a rough time. I need help. There's nothing, we all need help sometimes.
Yes.
And that's okay. Reach out. Don't wait. That is a huge message, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. When we get stuck in our ways, and I explain it to people that it's just like you're treading water out in the middle of the lake.
Yeah.
And boats are going by. Do you need a hand? Nope.
No, I'm
okay.
good, thanks.
I'm good.
Right?
I'll be okay.
Yes.
And you can only tread water so long before you drown.
It's a great analogy.
And eventually you have to reach out for some help.
And it is, isn't it? It's sad almost how we feel like if anyone asks you for help, if anyone asks me for help, my reaction isn't, oh boy, they sure are weak.
No, not at all.
Right? People want to help.
Yeah, it's the opposite. And I was, I don't know how you say, so self-consumed. And I would say that my depression was the biggest expression of an ego, because it was just me, poor me, life sucks, until I reached out to someone. And reaching out, I thought, oh no, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? And nothing bad happened.
No, I know. And we're too hard on ourselves. We're too hard. We think, you know, again, I am man or woman, hear me roar. I need to do this on my own. And truthfully, there's so many other people out there feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Boy, I really could use a helping hand, but no one else is reaching out. So you don't want to be the only one. So to be the person that says, you know what, I'm struggling. I'm sure other people will be. Me too. I'm having a hard time too. And we need to be better at reaching out. And I know that peer support, was that was a part of your journey as well?
Yes.
Of recovery?
Joining some support groups.
Which you didn't want to do in the beginning,
no,
of course
not. I was right against that.
Yes.
Because I thought, what are people going to think? And
yes.
Once I joined some support groups, I realized that those people are going through the same things I did.
Exactly.
And they shared with me how we overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
And it was just a huge, huge help.
I think that is another huge aha moment, is peer support. I've had Natalie Harris on the show, who's a paramedic, who is a strong advocate for PTSD and change and peer support circles. I said, we need peer support for everything. Yes. We should have peer support, because I can't tell you, talk to you, I can hear your story, I can listen, but I can't say what it's like to go through a catastrophic car accident or brain injury, but someone else who's been through it. Yes, the journeys are different, but when you have that in common, you can help each other.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And all it takes is asking for some help.
Yes.
And the reason we don't do that is because we're stuck in our comfort zone.
We are. We are.
And I can share with the viewers at home, if you just clasp your hands like this, and you can do this at home.
Clasp your hands like this.
And then you separate your hands and move them down one finger so the opposite thumb's on top.
Ew.
How does that feel?
Weird. Really weird.
Awkward? Yucky?
Yes, uncomfortable.
Now just put your hands back the way you always do. That feels good. And
yes.
that feeling, that's why we don't change.
I love that.
That's your comfort zone right there.
But the point with that also is, did anything bad happen when we did it the other way?
No. And if you did that for 30 days,
right,
it would feel normal. And that's just like asking for help and saying, I need some help.
I need some help.
And, that feeling of, worrying that, am I going to look bad? Are people going to laugh at me?
Yeah.
Are people going to judge me? Those are the things that hold us back from making that change.
Right. Well, and you know what the truth is? If they did, what's the worst that could happen? If someone laughed, or, right, what is the worst that can happen? Because I think what they think of us is really none of our business anyway.
That's right.
Right? Yes. And how do we heal? And I know that we have so many things in common, and I love what we have, your journey from being from the medical side as a patient and everything you went through, and mine from nursing. And it's the same on both sides. Like, people don't want to ask for help. They don't want to look weak. They don't want to say, I'm really struggling. But when we share our stories, we heal, and it helps other people heal. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes. We need to share our stories. Yes. And that's what you've done. And I love the other thing that we have in common. So, so you had physio and you had speech therapy, and you were going through all this. When you were doing your speech therapy, you saw you were reading, what level of reading?
I was at about a grade 2 to 3 reading level, reading books called Bernstein Bears.
I love the Bernstein Bears. Yes. I really do.
I do too.
They're
but
so
it's
great,
just when you're 35 years old.
Yes, and that's your reading level.
Book,
so that, to me, that is just such an important piece of, okay, so that's what you were reading at that level. And then what commercial did you see? I love this moment.
There was a commercial that came on TV, and it was, they said, coming up next is Jack Canfield, co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul and the Success Principles, star of the movie The Secret, with his new book, The Success Principles.
Right.
How to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I remember sitting up in bed thinking, I don't know where I want to be, but I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
And during the commercial, he went on to ask a question: what would you do if there were no limitations? If anything were possible, what would you do? And as I was laying there, I thought, not only would I learn to read and write again, I would write books like this guy on TV.
Yes.
And not only would I learn to speak fluently again, I would become a speaker like this guy. And I would overcome depression and anxiety and share this with as many people as I could around the world. And with the help of my speech therapist, I bought the book and we read it. It took about 1.5 years to read it.
Oh my goodness.
It's a really thick book.
Oh, I know.
And within that 1.5 years, I got off all medication completely. I returned to school. I started speaking at local events. My life just started turning around in big ways.
So again, we have to just, so the Success Principles was also the catalyst for me to change my life. And I said, here it is. There's Jack Canfield, the Success Principles, and I got a copy for my husband Jordy because I said, you need to read this. This is changing our lives, but you can't have my copy. And I was obsessed with this book. I have so many notes that it's notes all over, and it. Look what you saw the commercial and you listened to that message. You were reading the Bernstein Bears. It took you 1.5 years.
Yes.
To read this book. I'm sure there were people that if you would have said, I would like to be a speaker and I'm going to write a book, and you were reading at a grade 2 level, they would have said, it's not possible.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge goal. Looking at the obstacles I was facing, yes.
Yes.
And I realized that the more people I shared it with, the more people wanted to help me.
Wow.
And a lot of times we think, I don't want to share this goal because it just seems way out to lunch.
Yes.
People are going to judge me, they're going to laugh at me.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is when you share your goals, people come out of the woodwork to help you.
I love that.
And it's amazing.
I love that. Well, and here's the other thing. If the people around you are not supporting you in your goals, reach out and find people who, somebody somewhere, right, will support you.
Yes.
And yeah, so you decided, yes, I'm going to change my life. And then where did it evolve from there? You got off your medication. You obviously, I mean, your speech came back 100%.
Yes, I had so much help with my speech therapist and just an amazing group of people that really helped me, and just learning how to spell, how to pronounce your words, how to stop stuttering.
You were stuttering.
I was
as
stuttering,
well?
and whether I was tired or excited, I would start stuttering. So I had to slow down and. Just I can't say enough about the group of people that helped me so much.
Thank you, group of people who helped Forrest.
And communication, yes.
Yes.
Right here in Aurelia.
Yes, that's incredible. So honestly, I'm just so in awe of everything that you've done. And not only did you become a speaker, and you wrote Finding Forrest, A Search for Emotional Success. I love this book so much, I have to tell you. I'm always a little nervous if I'm going to have a guest and I'm going to read their book, because I think, well, what if I don't like it? What am I going to say? We're probably not going to talk about it. And I'm just a few things that I read. Page 17, how many times can a human being be beaten down and continue to get up? And what's your answer to that?
Unlimited.
Unlimited.
Keep getting back up. When a baby's learning to walk, they'll fall down and fall down and fall down, and the parents don't say, you're never going to walk, just give up. You tried and you gave it your best shot. That's so true, so the child will keep crawling and keep standing and falling. Yes. And eventually they get up and it's no problem walking. Wow, and it is unlimited, because we can even go back to before your catastrophic brain injury, which I mean, they can't just give you the word or say the word catastrophic unless it has affected 55% or more of yourself as a whole person. Right. So it's whether you lose 2 limbs, 2 eyes. Mm-hmm. It's considered a permanent loss of 55% or more of yourself as a whole person. Wow. And for me, it was mentally and emotionally. Mm-hmm. And physically, I mean, my goodness, yes. You had several things to get through. But clearly with that situation, you have demonstrated what you can overcome, but your road was not paved in silver. No. Leading up to that either. No.
Yes. Can you share a little bit about, you shared a little bit of your story the other night, which we'll chat about, but wow, it was not an easy story, Forrest.
No, growing up, I grew up in a very broken home and very dysfunctional. My mother left when I was around 6 years old and never came back. And because we grew up in an abusive family, and I don't blame her for that.
Right, good for you.
And I don't want people to say, poor you, because
Yep.
I live a wonderful life.
Now, yes.
Because I chose to do that. And so coming out of that, I thought starting all these businesses, I was on top of the world, and then
my goodness,
you lose everything and then
Yes.
have to start again and just keep going.
I mean, seriously, you have to, I have to say, when you went through all of that, and then you built your family, and you were a successful career, and then that happened again, I think that warrants a pretty good pity party for a while. And I think that's also, I mean, as much as we want to move forward, I think we have to acknowledge and allow our grief. There's tremendous grief in all of that, right? And yeah, I mean, to be in self-pity for a little while, however, you don't want to stay there.
No, you don't want to get stuck there. And I did get stuck there for a while.
Yes.
And that's, you know, when I went on medication for depression and anxiety, and it took a long time to realize that I spent more time with my depression than I did with my son. Mm-hmm. So from the time he was 2 until he was about 7, mm-hmm. I was just in my own head.
Right.
You know, and I didn't spend a lot of time with him. And my aha moment was on his 7th birthday, when his friend bought him a ball and glove, and he ripped it open and threw the ball at the ground, and a baseball, and it went thud and just rolled in the dirt. And he picked it up again and threw it down, and it just went thud. And his friend shouted, "Baseballs don't bounce." And my heart just exploded. I thought, wow, how would he know this?
Because you didn't teach him.
No, I've never thrown a ball with him.
Right.
Someone else taught him how to ride a bike. Somebody else taught him how to skate. I spent more time with my poor me thoughts than I did with my son. So that was the day I gave up all my excuses and poor me stories and decided things have to change, and change now. Wow.
That is wow. But your son, when we chatted before, he got an award recently at school.
When he graduated school for the most compassionate student. And
that was high school, right?
Yes. And
most compassionate student.
Yes. That was very heartwarming for me.
I guess so, because, you know, as much as you would feel guilty that you weren't there for him, I feel like we have to also forgive ourselves when we didn't just show up for people, and maybe you didn't show up for him in that time. But he obviously learned some beautiful life lessons. I'm sure the journey with his dad helped carve who he became.
Absolutely, yeah.
Most compassionate student. Now that's a great award to receive, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's great.
That is amazing. So I could talk to you all day about all this stuff, let me tell you, Forrest, but there's 2 other points, and one on page 36 that you said something about if you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself, you probably wouldn't have any friends left, because when we're so critical of ourselves.
Yes, and we're constantly beating ourselves up. So many people wake up in the morning and they say, "Oh, my hair looks like crap, my butt looks big in these jeans, I have a pimple on my nose." And if you went to work and said to your coworkers, your hair looks like a mess, your butt looks big in those jeans, you have a pimple on your nose.
That would not go over well.
You wouldn't have any friends. But we allow ourselves to do that and
to ourselves.
Beat ourselves up every day. And it's, I plead with people to stop doing that. Stop beating yourself up and look in the mirror and say, "Good morning, sunshine. Like, how are you, beautiful?"
Yeah. Yes.
And start your day off great.
I love that, because truly, and that I've said that so many times, be your best, or not, fire your inner critic, or just say, you know, I'm not really interested in what you have to say. Become your best coach.
Yes.
Become your best coach. Use humor along the way, no matter what you're going through.
Yes.
you need humor.
Absolutely.
You really do. And I had the pleasure the other night, you and Chantal Coward and Peter Jennings, who I've had them on the show as well. You are doing these events around town, around Simcoe, Muskoka, or wherever you're going to, yes. I say Muskoka because I think you need to come to Muskoka, about empowerment and resilient and sharing some of your journey, and your story is so compelling. They shared their stories, amazing information, but you really have shown and demonstrate and live what you can get through, and then when life pulls the rug from under you, what you can get through again. Yes,
and I think a big thing I'm proud of is my story is the foreword of the 10th anniversary of
yes.
the Success Principles.
Yes, that's amazing. Now I have to get a third copy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jack says that it sets the tone for what is possible when you apply these principles.
Yes.
And so 10 years ago, I could barely even spell New York Times bestseller. Now I'm in one with over 1 million copies in print.
Yes, and you're working with Jack Canfield, yes. which is amazing. And my son's telling me I'm out of time. Can you believe this? Can
Excellent.
You believe this? Yeah. Forrest, I cannot thank you so much for becoming the very best version of you, overcoming, but sharing your story unapologetically. I encourage everyone to get this book and to reach out to Forrest Willett, because they would not be disappointing hearing you speak, reading your book, and watching your incredible journey.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. So, thank you for joining us for Real Life Talks. This is a show about learning how to just show up for yourself and others, and sometimes having hard conversations and meeting heroes, because we know that heroes don't always wear capes. So, if you want to be empowered, if you want to be resilient and be able to just show up for yourself and others, my call to action is always plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks, bye for now.